And I don't like that feeling, so I just
After 2 months, it starts itching. That's a weird time to unmute us, Joe. I think that the audience is going to wonder what we're talking about when the first thing today here on our podcast this week is that it starts itching for you pretty heavily.
Well, you have to let me know when we go live, so then I don't embarrass myself.
Joe, how's it going, brother? Another week. And he was speaking of his beard before the inquiring minds get to making their own assumptions. He was asking me about my beard, and I was letting him in on a secret about No Shave November. No, I didn't say that at all, but that was just making a joke. And that's what he was saying. He can't let his grow too long because it gets itchy. But
November rain. So, you know, one thing that I was talking to my wife the other day, because when we don't live in North America, we don't understand a lot of things, right? And when we come here and we not only living, but when you come here to visit and you start to notice things that you've been watching for since you were a child on the movies and series and everything.
Yeah.
And I've never understood, of course, the lyrics, the November Rain from Guns N' Roses. Of course, I understood the translation, right? But I was only able to understand the meaning, right, when I came to North America, because November is wet and dark and cold month.
Yeah, right. So
it's
true.
The worst month of the year for me, man.
Dude.
That's just a side.
That's very true. I don't
just to get started.
So when I lived in Washington State, I want to go. I think I want to retire there. By the way, like I'm not going to be shy. Like at first I wanted to retire probably like where I'm at now in Texas or Austin or Dallas, but now I'm thinking like Washington State, and I'm thinking that because of the weather. The weather is absolutely gorgeous. It's very temperamental. It's not too crazy. It has all of the seasons, but none of them are extreme. And so that's why I say it kind of swaps around. But it does rain, right? And everybody assumes like Seattle, right? They think of all this massive rain. And it rains more in like New York than it does in Seattle. But it does have this consistency of being cloudy, right? And so when you talk about gloomy or cloudy or rainy and chilly, there's definitely a portion of that weather that carries out through Washington State. It takes some time to get used to. If you can get used to it, it's not bad.
Yeah, but man, talk weather apart.
Mm-hmm.
We were being consistent for a long time.
Yep.
Up to Vegas when we met at Forward.
Yeah.
And then after that, we are kind of letting it slide a little bit.
Yeah, at the end of the year, right? Yep.
We couldn't. But yeah, we are finally back. So I was expecting you to have a lot of new topics to talk about because
man. Gee, I mean, that's the thing too, right? We could talk about so many things because while we weren't on last week, right? I mean, I think that from the perspective of what's been going on in the world, I mean, you're just talking about North America. And I know that we talk about a bunch of random topics, but what is the craziness? Is there any stuff that you're hearing about a 25% tax on Canadian? Oh, what is that? Wow. What is that? What in the world is going on? That's to Mexico too. I like tequila. Yeah. What's going to happen? Yeah. Are you hearing that? Is it as much in the news over there as it is over here?
Oh, it's huge. It's huge here. People are just talking about that. I don't follow that much of the news, but even I, caught information here and there. And just this morning, I was driving to work, and I was listening to the local radio because that's what I like to do when I'm driving.
Yeah, no doubt.
And they had two premiers from two different provinces talking about a meeting that every premier had. Like they got together, the premiers and the prime minister from Canada, and they were talking about this. It's high priority for everybody, but different people have different opinions about how the prime minister is going to handle this and everything else. But what is your take on this? What you are listening? What do you know about it?
Again, you and I are very similar in the boat of not knowing too much or having. I read a lot of headlines, right? I don't take debate a lot because a lot of times it's nonsense. I don't even want to get on a tangent, but I will say that what I have read, people got to stop using GPTs to write all their stuff. I don't know if they're not proofreading it or it's unique the way some of these stories are written. But I think that, from my perspective, it sounds pretty crazy to just talk about 25% tariffs, straight off the bat. I understand from the positioning of what they said from like Mexico and people coming in from the border, right, and all this stuff. This gets kind of wild and out of my area of expertise, but I can't help but wonder with just the state of the global economy, what the impact will be, right? Who is gonna the thing is I did one article I did read. So here's my hot take on it, Joe, and I'll toss the ping pong back over to you. But I did already see an article, and I'm not gonna say a name because I can't remember which company it was. But they basically came out in the news and said, well, we're gonna pass this expense back on to the customers. Yeah. So it's gonna if they're gonna still be providing the products and the services that come from Canada, and they're gonna still be supporting that in with just the 25% tariff and a price tag, somebody's gonna still pay it, and the payment's gonna be on the people, the citizens. And so I don't know. It's very interesting. I don't know what your take is on it based off my opinion on that.
Well, they can try, right? But at the end of the day, it depends on the customers. If I get a 25% increase on something, I will probably try to find a better deal for whatever I'm trying to consume. So what I was one example, a real example that I was listening on the radio this morning is about the so on the East Coast, the upstate is Maine, right, in the U.S., the last one, and its border is with Nova Scotia in Canada, and right next to it is Newfoundland and Labrador. It's another province of Canada. Everybody in that region on the East Coast, they rely on seafood, right?
Yeah,
shrimp and
I love seafood. I literally have some crabs.
Yeah, the crab industry there is huge. So they were saying if 25% is on top of every pound of crab that is sold to the US, like farmers are going bankrupt, essentially, right? Small farmers and the whole chain of the supply chain for the farmers and from the farmers. So it's huge. It's huge, man. But to be honest with you, I feel that Trump is this crazy guy. He talks a lot, but sometimes he doesn't mean. He just wants to, make headlines and scare people. Just a prank.
Yeah, I love that our podcast is evolving in the way it is, right? I think that, and eventually you can't sit on the fence about topics, right? You can't play the middle ground in certain areas for the long term, right? I think that people that listen to or take their time to listen to two chuckleheads like you and I, they want to know what our actual opinions are, right? So, I completely agree with you, right? He's a very loudmouth individual. He talks a lot, and not everything gets backed up. But I'll let you know that there's definitely been some interesting sentiment I've been reading online as far as the stories of people when they talk about these types of tariffs, when they talk about some of the government programs that are going to get shut down and some of the deportations that are supposed to happen. Like, people are having some coming to light moments, like coming to Jesus moments, like, oh man, I didn't realize, this was on the table. So I'm very interested to see what actually takes into effect, right? I think that a lot of these things are excessive, right? I don't, I'm really interested in is to see what happens in 4 years. That's what I want to see where we're at in 4 years from now. I think that a lot of this stuff is just crazy. Like some of the giving the money to put Bibles in school just seems very weird to me.
He's saying that?
Yeah, no, the state of Oklahoma, they were giving out some type of grant for introducing Western-based philosophy into school, aka putting these books in the curriculum. And what were the books? The books were the Bible. And, and so, there's a bunch of interesting stuff that will go on. But, in my opinion, these political systems, part of the problem I don't think is even the candidates, right? I think that the system that you have generates the candidacies and the people that get picked. And I think that the system itself is broken. With the technology that we have, we should be voting and deciding where this money goes in a much more transparent and a much more efficient manner. Do we have to have bills that have 500 things jumbled up into one thing just to get it approved, but it's got a bunch of nonsense where Walmart gets $50 billion to pave their road in Arkansas when the school could use the money, right? I think that there's a lot of different stuff where the system's messed up, right? And so I'm interested in what Elon Musk's got cooking on over there, right? We talked a little bit about just the taxes. I think that the going out of businesses is bullshit. Like, that's just like, I'm going to say, cover earmuffs. Like, that's fucked up, right? For businesses to go out over tariffs, the chain needs to support that type of growth, right? And the fishermen, I don't want to keep going, Joe, but I want to give you another example, right? My own aunt. And this is why I want your opinion on it, because I see a lot of old businesses, especially like family, mom and pop owned shops, where when they start their business, they try to, they have when they've been in business for 10 to 15, 20 years, you kind of know your business processes, your partners, your people, where you get stuff from, right? Your vendors, and you sort of negotiate the deals, and the whole price, and you kind of have all that budgeted. And of course, you try to adjust it when you have to hire new people and they want different salaries, and you got to manage all this stuff. But I feel like sometimes it's really hard for those old mom and pop shops to take bigger steps and say, okay, it's time for me to literally just 2x my cost or my expenses, right? If I'm selling these crabs for, $20 a crab, it's time I got to go to $50 a crab, and that's what I got to sell them for, right? My aunt has a business where she puts, does tubs and stuff, and I Now, I wonder if sometimes these small shops have issue adjusting with some of these policies. But what are your thoughts? I was about to start on the Elon Musk and the Doge efficiency thing, but I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole yet.
You touched on a very good point, right? Because the small shops are definitely going to be affected.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to go back to the broken system, because I truly agree with that. I think not only in the US, but in many other countries, and I would say at least Canada and Brazil, the system, it's very inefficient. Actually, Canada is inefficient. Brazil is totally broken. Right? Brazil has so many similarities with the US.
Yeah.
Even the broken system, even the problems. I think the only difference, not the only difference, but the difference that the US it's much richer than Brazil, and has a much better structure overall than Brazil. But yeah, this political problems is definitely very similar.
Yeah. What do you think? I know this is an impossible question to ask you. That's why I want to ask you. Maybe this is payback for you asking me that question forward. But what's a big solution? Like what do you think? Do you have any big ideas, do you think, or big solutions or something that could just how do you fix it? What's the fix? Is there any big
there's no fix, because there's no well, I would say the closest we can get is if you go to the Nordics countries like Sweden and what is the other countries over there? I'm slipping the names.
Yeah.
But
where people go and hide their money.
Yeah, they have very very good infrastructure or system. For example, politicians, I believe it's in Sweden, politicians have to use the public transportation, and their kids have to go to public school, right? That's mandatory. So they know how the system works, and they have to work to improve it, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that this should be applied everywhere, but that's a good way, that it's a good KPI, right?
Yeah.
If the school is good enough for your kid, then that's good, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you have to work to improve it. I heard this quite a few years ago. I don't know if it still holds true, but I remember watching documentaries about it and seeing how good the system works for them.
Yeah.
But now, I don't know much here in Canada, but in Brazil, like politicians, they get tons of money,
like
millions. And they have their own. So let's take, for example, one federal counselor, right? Or how do you call it in English? Regardless, the name, federal representative. They get, I don't know, a few $100,000 per month to run their office, right? So then they can do whatever they want. They can hire as many people as they want to do their business, right? To work. On top of that, they have so many add-ons, that money they are going to get, even money to pay for suits, for rent, for food. Like, I'm not saying they shouldn't have it, but it shouldn't be thousands and thousands on top of thousands and thousands, right?
Man, that's just insane.
Yeah, it's unreasonable, the amount of money they can manage compared to the actual benefit they bring.
Yeah. I feel like, that's why I feel like there needs to be a lot more transparency, right? Availability and transparency, and then sort of like, I think the third point of the triangle, I think, would be understanding, right? Because human beings just have different levels of understanding when it comes to different politics or policy changes, or insurance and medical benefit. All these kinds of things are complex, and they're getting more complex. You and I work in some of these spaces, right? Mm-hmm. And so I feel like there just needs to be more transparency, right? If you the voter knew and had a brief on the candidate and where all the money went and where they're spending it, what I'm saying, you'd be like, I'm not voting for that guy. He spends more on suits than he does on policy, and it's so crazy. It's so weird. I feel like in America the problem is too, like our political system has just been gamified, right? It's like a sport. It's not even like it's like a TV show / sport. Like, people, this is like pick sides. I don't believe anybody's actually listening to what the candidates are saying. They just want to win, And I feel like I feel like the average person, like the average American, they've had it so rough for the last decade plus, right? I'm sure you've read articles too. I mean, you've seen, like, through the U.S. when they had the housing crisis, and then COVID, and then 9/11. Like, millennials, we grew up through all this stuff, and I think people are just like set back by it, and people just want to win, And it's not even about, like, And I feel like part of the American culture is like stick it to the man, and just like, and I feel like that you can see that kind of come out in politics too. But yeah, very interesting. It needs to be cleaned up. I'm interested to see what Musk and his team member are going to do with their efficiency council. Like, what are they even going to do? What are they?
I hope he does well, but I wouldn't put too much faith on it.
Uh-oh. Really?
Yeah, I don't know. I will give you one example from Brazil, another one.
Yeah.
So a few years ago, maybe 7-8 years ago, I don't remember the exact dates. Mm-hmm. Our former president was being not evicted, impeached, right? So there was a process. They were suing her because she made some mistakes. She robbed the country.
Oh my God, that's never good.
And they actually got her out. She was impeached, and then right after that, I'm summarizing quite a lot the story.
No, of course.
And then there was the vice president, got her position for 2 years, and then right after that, it was a major election where the country was very polarized. This right and left, us against them. I'm right, you are wrong. This whole shenanigan was happening in Brazil a few years ago. The point that I want to say is, the major judge that was running the case that got the lady impeached, and he was actually also after a former president. He got this former president in jail. He put him in jail. All the left side, right? The politicians from the left wing. This judge on this new election, he actually got out of the system. I don't know the words in English, but he stopped being a judge, right? He resigned from being a judge to run as a politician. So he went to the right wing. He affiliated himself to the right party, and he was running as a major politician on the right side of the politics. Long story short, everybody's not a lot of people. So the right wing people would say, "Oh, now we're good because we have the most trustworthy men in the country on our side." The left wing people would say, "Oh, we were all the things that this guy was judging was biased because he wanted to be in politics, right? So he wanted the left wing to get in jail." So it was biased. At the end of the day, like I don't know if they proved or not, but there's you have all sorts of opinions on this, but there's evidence is that this guy was biased, and he ended up leaving the politics. A couple of years later, because all the things they
everything they got, that's so crazy. I mean, that politics are crazy everywhere. I don't know if you saw recently in the news, but one of the vice presidents in the Philippines, she threatened to assassinate the president.
No.
Yeah, she did. I was like, she's basically, but it's a crazy story. There's much more to it, but that's like the headline, right? But more or less, she said that the president's crooked and he's out to like get her and her family. And so she's basically spoke with an assassin and said if anything happens to her and suspicious, that he's been given the orders to assassinate the president. Like, so crazy. So, I mean, like, I think that that's all sorts of, like, politics are obviously wild almost everywhere around the world. I mean, bringing it back to the U.S., though, I mean, I think that whole efficiency thing, I was reading a recent article, and it said that the Department of Government Efficiency Committee wants to slash federal spending by $2 trillion. That's a pretty big. You need it's going to take a lot of robots, a lot of automation.
But I believe they can, right? If they want to squeeze money, they find. If we want to squeeze money, if we have to, we find ways to save money on our household, right? We can save $5 here, $100 there.
Yeah.
Why a government with trillions of dollars shouldn't be able to do it?
Yeah. It needs to be transparent too. I want to be able to see where the money's at, right? If you live in a country and you pay taxes on that money, you should see where it flows, right? You should see it get dispersed, and you should see where the pot of money is, and you should be able to watch it real time as it gets siphoned into the paychecks of politicians and the programs for the community support that it goes into to build the roads. Like, you should be able to see that, right? Could we not build something like that?
We don't need too much to do this. I remember a decade ago or something like that, a small town back home, the mayor, what he did was a very small town, like 5,000-10,000 people. The central square in the city, he put an outdoor sign with bullet points. This much money we spend on this much money on this much money on this. Like, just
I love that. That's transparency in politics. I love that. That's how it should be. It should be required that is the case everywhere, in my opinion. That's how it should be law, right? We should be able to just see that not only at the city that you live in or the town you live in, but all the way up to like, up to like the national level, right? I think you should be able to see it everywhere.
Yeah, but they don't want, right? They don't want to let us know how much money they're spending on fancy dinners and all that kind of.
Well, they need to. I don't care if they don't want to. The bastards better. That's my opinion.
Yeah, they should. Everybody agrees on that, but they're not going to do that. Unless we mandate them. But then how can we, right?
Yeah, that's very true. It's very true. It's got to be in politics.
It's a very good topic, but I wanted to share something.
Yeah.
So this week we were talking about how many things were going on both our sides, and one great some great news happened lately. For me and for my wife and for my family. So, I'm living here in Canada, but I was actually like temporary resident, right? Well, I had a time limited permit to be here. And we recently got the news. We applied earlier this year, and now we were approved to permanent residency. So
nice.
Now my roots are here. Yeah.
That's awesome, right? That's incredible.
Yeah, no, that's I believe it translates to the green card in the US.
Yeah, like Canadian green card, you'll be a citizen of Canada, That's
not
great.
Not citizen.
Well,
yes.
not like
citizenship. It's a different game, but yeah.
On the path to probably at least something similar.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now there's a process. I have to live as a permanent resident for a couple of years, and then I can apply for citizenship.
That's so crazy. Did you plan on doing that too, or is it going to be?
Oh yeah. Citizenship is the end goal, is the end state. But man, this has changed me so much.
Oh yeah,
this whole process. Like I could probably write a book about it,
dude.
Because I was so different. If we talked 7 years ago, 8 years ago, you wouldn't recognize me today. I was so short-sighted.
Yeah.
Right. I was, everything for me was not possible. I wouldn't trust that I could do something. Like I wanted to be very limited. I wanted to be just a developer. Right?
Yeah.
Not wrong with that.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. Right? Absolutely not.
I had this very short view of a limited view about myself.
Yeah.
And starting this whole process, this started in 2017, 2018. The move to Canada. I had a very limited vision about myself, and I wouldn't go too further in a project. Very often I would just give up. Right. I didn't want to.
Excuse me.
Actually, I was comfortable, like just working every day and going home and drinking my beer on a Friday night.
Yep.
But man, see, this started in 2017, 2018, saving money, working hard, studying English. I didn't know English, to be honest. That was the harder part in this whole process.
Oh yeah,
learn English. Yeah,
that's definitely
it took me 10 years, man, to learn to get to this point where I can have complex conversations, right? And you can notice that I still struggle.
You do great, but I know sometimes you try to think of the appropriate word.
Exactly.
No, definitely.
So something that wouldn't happen in Portuguese, but learning English, and then just keep pushing, right? Because then you try one path, it doesn't work. What do you do? Previously, I would just give up, right?
Yeah.
But, with my wife, with the right person on your side, then you have you have that person pushing you, right?
Yep.
And she would just push me. Long story short, 7 years later, 8 years later, I'm here. So a lot of learning. Yeah, man, this was wild.
Man. So you've definitely transformed, right? You're not the same person that you were. You don't have the same mindset, right?
No.
And I think that, you and I both know there's stuff that we both have going on that we haven't discussed on the podcast, and we won't, right? Some stuff that'll just be for the book, some stuff that's just professionally private. But do you see the next 7 years playing out in the same fashion? Are you getting comfortable in your current capacity, or are you continuing to push yourself for this growth trajectory? What's going on? What are you thinking?
I think it's going to get even crazier. The next 7
years. Nice. Okay.
Because as I told you, I had this limited vision, right? Nothing wrong with that, but now I know the things that I am capable of.
Yeah. Yep.
Excuse me. I know what I can do, and I know there's a lot of potential. And with AI on the pipeline, everything becoming AI, and working on this area, because previously also, like, one thing that changed a lot was starting working with UiPath.
Yeah.
Because previously I was a backend developer. I was that guy that would, dig in to the bytes and bits of the code.
Yep.
SQL or C or C++, C. at some point I was even allocating and deallocating memory on the program. So I was very, very technical.
Smarty pants, I like it. You're nerd, you're a little nerd.
Yeah. So I was that Linux user when I was at school on my major university. I was the Linux guy. I knew everything about Linux. That helped me a lot, right?
Yeah.
I am as good as I am today with UiPath because of this background.
Yeah, true,
but
true.
Shifting to a high technological tool like UiPath with AI features and document understanding and this whole ecosystem is not a programming language anymore. It's a whole ecosystem, right? It opens up a full book of opportunities. And then you see, like, when I got into the MVP, I will look up to like you or like Mukesh or Russell.
Yeah.
And I want to do that. Right?
Yeah. Nah, dude. And it's so crazy, right? The MVP voting is, well, I can't see the voting. The voting hasn't begun yet, but at least the MVP application cycle is now closed. So if you put it in, you might be an MVP, you might not. What was it like for you during this period when you applied for MVP, where you did it, you finally got the balls to like apply, your application's in, and now you're waiting? Are you having imposter syndrome? Are you having doubts? What's it like for you?
I had no expectation whatsoever. I didn't know what MVP meant. Actually,
yeah.
Of course, if you just see the acronym, right, most valuable professional, but what does it actually mean, right, for you, and what this will bring to me, right?
Yeah.
Because and I remember the day that I was announced as an MVP, we were posting on LinkedIn, and people, a few folks, connecting and sending congratulations, and I thought, oh, that's it. Is this what it's about, right? But it took me like 2 years to actually realize what the MVP is about, right? It's much more than showing up as an MVP on LinkedIn and then people looking up to you, but
cheers.
Congratulations, you deserve it.
What do I deserve? You don't even know. Yeah, no, absolutely, right? I mean, you see it in the WhatsApp groups, right? Because you're pretty active in the chat over there too, when they have like questions and stuff. So, I mean, I think I was a little more modest in my application too. I think I had much more imposter syndrome. I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be the right person, right? It's also, it was very interesting for me too, because I had to, when I did my interview, right, I had to do like an interview, and I can't remember, I think it was Christina that might have been the one who interviewed me. But there was another candidate in the interview, and they're like asking us both questions. And I remember thinking, like, is this guy that's also a candidate, like, are we competing right now? Is it like one of us is getting in or not? And I was like, and it was really weird. It was very odd. They didn't really explain it. And so I'm thinking, like, do I need to answer the questions better than him? And I was like, this is interesting. And then on top of it, I lived in Virginia at the time. So me and my wife were in this little townhouse, and I had no office. We downgraded from like a 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, and I had an office downstairs. Like now I had this office space, and I did in there, and there's no extra bedroom. And so I was in the living room. I had no free space, and my son was running around. So he's running around while I'm trying to answer these questions, and he's like coming up in the camera, and I'm like, oh man. I was like, my apologies. but I definitely was nervous, like thinking like, man, I'm not doing very well. This guy's going to answer these questions. And then having that weird tension, like, am I competing against this guy? So yeah, it sounds like you're kind of like, what is this thing? But you had no expectations, but I guess for me, I'm so competitive, Joe. Like I think I might've said this, and if not, I'm going to say it again. If my mother were on her deathbed and we were playing checkers, like I wouldn't let her win. I am so competitive. Like, bro, I can't lose. It's not that I can't lose. Like I can lose. It's just like I have to win. Right. That's like that. It's not like I don't mind losing. Like I can lose. Like it's part of the growth process, but it's like I have to win. So I think that when I applied, I was nervous because like I wanted to get in, you know what I'm saying? But I wasn't like you. I didn't have the technical background, right? I wasn't an expert in C-Sharp, not expert. I didn't go to college for computer science, electrical engineering. I didn't. Did I take those kinds of courses, and did I have the actual hands-on experience? Yes. But, that being said, that was my experience. I guess I wasn't as cool as Joe or calm.
Yeah, but you knew what you were into, right? I didn't. I had no idea. So the feeling you had in your interview, I also had, because there were like 3 interviewers and 3 people being interviewed.
Oh, really? 3? Man, that'd have been
crazy. 2 with me, and I had the same feeling. They said, "Oh, we are going to ask one question each other, but you can jump in when you want," something like that. And I was, do I have to be better than them? What's the deal here, right?
Yeah, same. That's so funny.
And to this day, I believe those 2 guys didn't get in the program. I don't remember them. If they are, by any chance, if they are watching this and they recognize me, please let me know. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
Watch it. It's like Rodrigo. He's like, that was me. I was. You had no idea, right?
I had no idea.
It's so funny. I don't either.
What's happening there?
Me either. It was so much, right? It's so funny. I had this similar experience there.
Exactly. And then I remember Vibber announcing, "Oh, you got it, but don't share it. We are going to make an announcement," and so on. And okay, but am I getting any money now?
He's like, is there a prize? Like, what is the?
So I got it. I got what? It's just like a tap on the shoulder. Congratulations, you made it, or what's going to happen?
Yeah.
So a lot of unknowns when you go the first time, right? So, but it's so funny. It's so funny. This whole process is so worthy, and so rewarding.
Yeah.
We don't get any money out of it, but to be honest, there's so many other things better than. I'm not going to say better than money, but
I know, right? That's a thin line there. Yes, very.
There's so many other worthy things.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I mean, there's some things that you can't there's some things that you literally cannot trade your money in for, or your influence in for. Right? I don't care if you got 20,000 followers. It doesn't mean that UiPath's going to let you in the MVP program. Right? They don't care about how much reach you have. And so I think that when it comes to what you're saying, right, is it's not, you don't get money for this, but you can't spend money and trade it in to get the experience of sitting in Seattle and speaking with the product managers and influencing the direction of the product.
Yes.
Right. And so that experience is priceless. That memory of hanging out with you and having a beer and seeing you scoot across the floor next to Vibor, I think that those experiences to me are things that will last, my whole life. So I agree with you, right? I think that you don't know what you got yourself into, and we don't get cash necessarily. But for instance, when they cop your hotel expense and pay for all your food, right? Somebody has to pay for that. And so, we get different types of compensation from that perspective. They pay for, the $1,500 ticket that it would be to get into Forward and stuff. So there's different benefits, but I think to your point, right, a lot of cool experiences that you get to be a part of. And we're sort of like, we're getting to do it at their prime too, right? If you think about where the trajectory of where UiPath is and where it's been and where it could be going. But at least right now, we're getting the opportunity to be at that arc, at this part, I think is just really cool. It's a really, really cool experience.
Yeah. One thing that I noticed with this community, when you are out, like you think the whole world is doing great stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Everybody is doing AI. Everybody's building agents. Everybody's doing connector. You just see everybody, comma, not comma, quotes, between quotes.
Excuse me.
Everybody is doing great stuff. You see it on LinkedIn, you see it on forums and so on and so forth. But one thing that I realized, not everybody is doing it.
No.
Very, very few people. Like everybody's doing RPA. That's true. Core RPA. Everybody does that. But the cool stuff, the very cutting edge stuff in terms of automation, that's in this community, right?
Yeah.
We know of people that are doing not unattended, agentic. Yeah. We know that we had demos with them, right?
Mm-hmm.
I am not doing, I don't know you, but I am not doing yet. But I'm so close to that. I feel that I already know something, right?
Yeah. And that's the part, right? That's why the industry, they call this space that we work in. Excuse me. For those of you who are not familiar with it, right? We work in information technology, IT, but the area, like the industry specifically, is called high tech, right? It's like the fringe of technology, and the touch point of where the newest shit is being consumed by corporations and businesses, right? And so when you get to just kind of touch it, right, and you get to see what's going on and you get the awareness, but that's how a technology adoption works, right? It's not something where even with RPA that it's just adopted because it's the sexy new term. Generally, it takes some sort of distribution curve to go out where it's absorbed and onboarded by businesses, and agentic will be the same. But when you're at the front of it before it's actually occurring, it's a great spot to be, because if it's something that truly goes mainstream like RPA did, you're sitting on a wealth of knowledge, right? You're sitting on something that's very, very big commodity.
So. Yeah, and knowledge is the only thing nobody can take from you.
Yeah,
right.
So true. Beautiful.
They can take your money, they can take your house, they can take your car, but knowledge, nobody can take it from you, right?
No,
Once
they can't.
You know it, and it's so valuable. Like you can't put a price tag on it. So that's what I believe this community is about. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, no, and say one more before we swap off this topic. I had the beautiful privilege to help host and support one of the newest UiPath chapters, the veteran chapter, right? And we had a great week of sessions. Christopher Bolin, like there's a whole list. I can't name them. There's too many. I'll definitely forget somebody, but they were great, brilliant support throughout the week. We finished a whole week of introductory courses. And so super excited about that kicking off, man. To speak of like community, so nice. Right? I'm glad that's going to happen.
Well, I was part of some emails, and I thought at some point I would be helping you guys because I saw someone asking about the platform, and I said I can speak. I can present the platform side of it.
Yeah.
But then turns out nobody wanted or said or asked me to do so, and I'm not complaining, right?
That's because I'm gonna wait and get you on round 2 when we have the second version. I'm gonna get you. So
yeah, definitely. I can help with that. I am in debt with Diana, to be honest. I owe her another 2 sessions.
There you go.
Chapter, so that might count.
That's so funny. That's so good.
I don't know if I will be able to do these other 2 sessions, but anyway, man. Speaking of which, UiPath at Forward, they introduced a few new certifications, and this was something not that I complained, but I pointed out couple of years ago that we had just developer associate and professional developer certifications. Just 2. That's it. And then I would go to a Blue Prism website. There was a whole bunch of certifications. And Vibor told me, no, just wait. Right? Yeah. Just wait. They are working on it.
Yeah.
If you go today to the certifications page, there's so many. There's probably more than 10.
Yeah. Right? Oh, yeah.
And they are working very hard on it. And that's so awesome because you can get into so many different career paths. And we could just spend a whole episode just talking about career paths.
Oh, yeah. We should do that. We definitely should do that at some point.
Because you can start from developer, go to architecture, go to AI. And now they introduced, last forward, the infrastructure engineer. So there's 2 new certifications, the standalone certification and automation suite certification. And this Saturday, I'm scheduled to get the automation suite certification.
Oh, okay, there we go. I'm gonna my finger crossed, both my fingers, my toes.
Yeah. I don't have too much hope on this, but let's try it.
Yeah, hey man,
let's
go
see
for
what's
it.
Going to happen.
I'm excited. I think that you're gonna do great. That's good. You gotta get to study. You got some studying to do tomorrow, then too. Of course, it's Friday, so.
Well, I already did. They have this the course for the certification as usual, right? Every certification they put up a course for the certification. I did the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
The only thing that I'm missing is actually practical experience, right? I've never installed an automation suite instance on-prem.
Oh, this is good though. Good stuff. You something you need to learn, especially in your line of work. The stuff that you're gonna get into in the future. I'm sure you're going to need this kind of experience, or at least it would help to know the current
absolutely. I'm waiting for my new computer to do.
Oh, new computer! Oh, you gotta. Did you make any? Yeah. Well, I mean,
tomorrow, Black Friday. Yeah, tomorrow's gonna be the day.
You're gonna get it tomorrow?
Yeah.
I'm excited. Oh, snap!
So next week, probably, we are going to have some better quality image and video and sound on my end of the podcast.
I'm telling you, today you've been pretty good, and your sound. Obviously, we got the sounds pretty in tune. I think that we finally, after 20 plus episodes, we're getting the sounds down. Yes. Even the color looks pretty good. I'm seeing it looks pretty comfortable together.
I'm checking. Good. Yeah, I'm checking the stream, not the sound, but the image is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I'm very hopeful that the new computer is going to bring some improvements overall.
Yeah.
Right? Because I told you my laptop is pretty basic. I feel it's lacking in many aspects. But let's see that next week.
I'm excited.
Man, I need 1 minute.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I need to run and I will be back.
Okay.
In 1 minute.
Let's do it. We'll get Joe a minute to go and he's going to go do some yoga. He's going to go do some goat yoga real quick. And while he does, can I interest you in a random song? Because I'm going to go. Do I even? I think that I'm going to be getting back to some gaming after this. This is a song to get me ready. And I got some food. I got Whataburger came. Oh, man. Nothing better than some Whataburger when you haven't had it in a while. I know some people that live in Texas, like they believe the Whataburger is the best burger in the world. I am a big fan of In-N-Out, if I'm going to be honest. I think that those burgers, In-N-Out Double with chopped grilled onions, I think is pretty delicious. And I haven't found, even though I do like Whataburger, I haven't found just one that I consistently want to go to. So I definitely feel like In-N-Out is the spot for me. But nothing against Whataburger. I can have them both. Some people think that one of them's trash. I can't go that far. And he's back. How was the goat yoga, sir? Good?
Good. I don't know what you asked, but it was good.
Nice.
So one thing that I forgot, I was about to forget actually.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I was so happy this week. The guy, I don't know him, Vinicius, another Vinicius, not our friend. Another one. He just gave us a shout out on LinkedIn.
Thank you so much.
So
that was so awesome, dude, to see that.
Means so much.
Yeah, it does, man. Whenever I see somebody out there do a share of our content, dude, to like really, it motivates me, to be honest. Like, it touched me personally, and it motivated me, to just want to, just to like continue to improve our craft, right? I know that we're not going to say any names, because I've learned in corporate America and business you don't want to get people too hyped and say names, and then it doesn't, like, something happens, right? But I know that we're working to close out the season, with at least a couple of guests. We got some people planned. We're going to make sure that we got a bunch of guests lined up from the beginning of next season. I got some new people. I'm going to be throwing some interesting people at you. You threw a couple of curveballs of guests at me this season 1, and I think season 2 I'm going to throw you a couple curveballs too. So I'm excited, dude.
No, that's nice. And remember that I told you a few times already, just sharing good vibes is so awesome, because
dude,
this guy out of nothing, nobody asked him. He just gave us a shout out on LinkedIn. Man, it is so awesome just to see that people are listening, right?
Yeah.
And when I see the stats, I actually it's not impressive yet.
Yep.
But just by when I look at the stats and I see people are listening to our episodes for hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think, man, this is so awesome. We are doing something that we like.
Yeah.
And some other folks are liking too. So that's just, boosts our motivation and make us work harder.
Yeah. And I don't know, man, I get this weird sensation that we've sort of set off a chain reaction too. And I feel like a lot of people feel empowered by what we're trying to do, and they're going out and they're taking their shot too. Right? I'm not saying that we're the catalyst that creates other, podcasts in this genre, right? But I mean, I know that, 20 episodes in, if you look back 20 episodes ago in our timeline, not a lot of people were doing this kind of stuff in our space, right? Now there's quite a few people, actively sharing information. So I love to see it, right? I love to be a part of this experience. I know that every time we come on here, we learn something, right? We learn whether it's the technology that doesn't work or the stories we're trying to tell that don't, sound right when we listen to them back. But yeah, dude, seeing somebody share that, and I need to share another thing on LinkedIn too, right? I saw somebody shared a post of some cutouts from a recent episode that I did, and I think that this is it's so nice, dude. So it's when you're yelling into the void, and it's nice to hear somebody says, "Hey, I'm listening." It's definitely nice. It's a big world out there.
Yeah, no, that's nice. You were mentioning the episode you did with Andre.
Andres,
what's the buzz? What's the buzz? Yeah, that was a really good, different approach or different format, I would say. Very similar, right? To one may think that it's the same format, but it's not. But
no, and
that was very nice.
Yeah. Oh, he's an amazing host. He's a brilliant mind, a very smart, charismatic person. I think that, and I read some of his book too, right? He published a book. I got it. I definitely recommend people going and getting a copy, AI in Leadership. I also think that, he's it's very interesting what he's doing. And I'm watching closely because I'm taking notes for our own information, right? Because if we want to take this and create, ways of monetizing our value stream to make this a profitable business that we can maybe one day, be our full-time job, right? Which would be cool. I think that watching how he's doing it, because he went private, right? And is very good person to at least take notes from, right? So yeah, really cool, great guy.
Yeah, we should bring him to our show.
He said we would. I told him, I said, yeah, I'll go. That was the deal. I told him I'll go on your show, but you got to go on, and he agreed. And I'm sure he would love it too. But it's funny because the reason it even popped in my brain was you said format's different, right? And on his show too, like he does share the questions, right? Not you do get one question up front that you don't know, right? When he does the little, like he has the thing, the buzzer, it was broken in our episode, but he'll hit it and it'll cycle through and then it'll have the question kind of like what it is. And so that question I didn't know. I think he asked if I wanted to know it up front. I said, no, let's do it like we do it on our show. Let's freestyle it. So we did. But all of the other questions, though, that he did share, I don't think everyone, but they're like the main questions he did share beforehand. So I had time to think about what the response would be.
And it's all good, right? Because with this format, you like the audience gets, I don't know if it gets more knowledge, but get a different sense, right?
Yeah.
Because when you have time to think, you probably come up with a better answer.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, it's more polished.
Not a spontaneous answer, but a more polished answer for sure, right?
Yeah.
So in a way, it's good for the audience as well. But I like the way we do it, and it's also it also fits to our schedule, right? Because we are so busy, man. We don't have time to plan every episode what we're gonna talk and the question that we're gonna ask to each other.
Weeks between episodes coming up and trying to produce a whole hour. That's so true. And but that's the thing too, right? His episodes are very tight. They got to fit in like sort of like your lunch break, right? He wants people to stop by in like 30 minutes, these tight sessions, and he chops them up and he reuses them. And us, right, our whole approach was, bots and beers. It's like having a conversation. So for our style, we wanted the listener to just be in the room with us, right? We wanted them to be sitting on the sofa, drinking their beer, hitting their vape, whatever they do, right? Just listening to the journey, right? Listening to the conversation. And I think I like the format that we do. And I think that it has just enough crust, right, that we can kind of maneuver around that.
And that's something that I did with our episodes, because I often listen to the full episode, right? If I am in the kitchen doing something, cooking or cleaning or whatever, I just put on the TV and I stay there for 1 hour or two. I watch the full episode, and I like to see us talking or with guests or just with two. And it's so funny because quite often I will catch something that you said that I couldn't get during the session.
Oh, right? Dude, same. You'll say that and I'll be like, dude, he was saying that, but I was mumbling something and I totally didn't even hear what he said and I missed it. I was like, I didn't even hear him say that. I do the same. Exactly. That's so funny. That is so funny. We do that.
So because we get distracted with the stream or something popping up, and or even like we get distracted, like as people,
human
right?
beings, no doubt.
Yeah, we are talking to folks. I get distracted easily. You know, I have to put some effort to pay attention and to focus on the speaker and to focus on whoever is talking to me. And that's a deliberate effort that I've been putting for quite a long time, because I know I get distracted.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So let me tell you an interesting thing about me. I don't know if you know, but have you ever heard of the term micro expressions?
No.
So basically, like happiness, sadness, fear, contempt. There's certain emotions that are universal across humanity, and our body creates expressions, right? When you smile, when you have happiness and you smile, it's the same muscles no matter if you're in Africa or you're in America. It's the same muscles that are happening when you smile as when you frown, when you're disgusted, or if you have fear or shock, right? And basically, they found these to be universal because they realized that cognitively, like blind individuals or people that were born blind, they still share these kinds of facial expressions, even though they've never seen them on people. They don't even know how to show shock and stuff. But anyway, micro expressions is an underlying sphere of these facial expressions. But what it basically says is that it's a technique of being able to recognize these expressions when they just flash on the face. Like you just had one, you had a quick smile. It popped up, but it's only like a fraction of a second. But you can leverage these if you're aware while you're having conversations, and you'll be saying stuff to people and their face will be reacting. Now, most of us have gotten pretty good where we can hide it, right? Like you might, oh, this is kind of, I don't like what this guy's saying, but you're not going to put a frown on your face. You're just kind of like, and so micro expressions is basically being able to recognize, I mean, they're micro expressions, but I was certified to be able to recognize micro expressions in people as a form of like, just doing it. And
the army?
No, just on my own free time. Like it was a topic that just interested me, and the effective communication, right? And being able to like understand what people were thinking while you do it. And so, I think that it's pretty fascinating, right? Just having these different ways of communication, right? Where it's like you said, there's so much stuff going on when people say, so many distractions, and to be able to like focus, tying it back to what you were saying, being able to focus on what somebody's saying. There's so much that's going on with communication, not just the words, right? You have the words, like you saying, like the body posture, what's happening with your muscles, like as you say stuff. All very fascinating to me. I love that space.
That's interesting because one thing that not that I studied, but I read a couple of books and I watched quite some videos was about body language.
Yeah,
right. So
I love that too.
The posture, the facial expressions, the movements of your hands, the way you rest your hands. So there's a whole psychology behind.
Yeah, I love that stuff. It's so
fascinating.
Cool. Yeah.
There was one book I was reading about FBI agents, the way they investigate and they assess the
I have a book like that too,
right?
yeah. Oh,
so it's so fascinating, man.
That's so cool.
I even to this day I follow an author. It's a lady on LinkedIn, and quite often she posts video about the expressions and what does this mean, and like
that's
very,
cool.
very, very small things, very small details that
little nuggets of wisdom
are not going to change the whole meeting, but they help you to understand the situation, and to better communicate, with your audience.
Yeah, absolutely.
So being expressive, showing your expression, moving around, moving your hands. Those are things that are not easy.
No.
But with time and with practice, you first start to understand, and then you start to practice, and then by no means I know what I'm doing, right?
Yeah.
I'm just a very simple person that gets a fraction of the understanding of what does that mean.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Even when I was learning the micro expressions in the face, right? The first thing that you remember too is like, or you learn quickly, is you don't understand what caused that facial expression, right? All you can put value in is that it occurred. You have to ask follow-on questions. Like if I'm saying something to you and you make sort of a facial jerk, and it's like shock, I don't know why you were shocked by that comment, so I can't make any assumptions. It could have been something connected with your past that's not really related and stuff, right? So, yeah, it's like you said, it's only a piece of the puzzle.
One thing that you mentioned, that even blind people, they smile the same way, right?
Yep.
One detail that I remember in these books, that even blind people that have never seen, they would when they win like a competition, they raise the arms, to the top.
Yeah.
So nobody taught them to do that, right? But still they do.
Yep.
Because that's a sign of victory.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's so crazy. It's in your genetics, right? And the face, they call it like a Duchenne smile, and the eyes are involved too. It's not just it's the eyes and the cheek. Yeah.
Is smile with the eyes, not with the mouth.
Yeah.
Right? Because
absolutely.
if you don't move your eyes, you are faking.
Yeah, right? More or less. It's not like a big impact smile. So yeah, a lot of that same stuff. Really cool.
That's not so true these days, because we have so much Botox on the
that's very true too, right? That's very true.
People may be smiling.
Yeah,
it might be a true smile, but the Botox don't let the smile.
Right, it's true though. It's very true. It's like, man, she's not laughing at my jokes, or whatever, but they are. It could be like that. Yeah. Dude, I got fries, man. I got Whataburger. They're getting chilly. I got to get out of here, man. It's been an hour. I got to go. I got fries.
Okay. Yeah. No. Oh, it's 20 to 9. That's good, man. It was nice to catch up with you again.
Absolutely, brother.
After a couple of weeks. So we still have a few weeks to go. How many weeks? 2, 3 this year?
2 or 3, right? I think we're gonna play it out by ear, but at least we got December, like 2 or 3. We got next week for sure, right?
Yes, and we do have a couple of guests. We are trying to get them on the show. Let's see. Hopefully we get. But if we don't, we will be here and just running the show as usual, business as usual.
Business BAU, as they call it on the project land, business as usual. So there you go. Hit him with a quote. Do you have any shout outs for the week? Any causes? Anything interesting? Any last minute dimes you want to drop?
A shout out to Vinicius that
so true.
Gave a shout out to us on LinkedIn. So if you are listening to this, we appreciate it.
Yes.
So keep following us on LinkedIn, and not too much on LinkedIn, but Spotify or YouTube.
Yep.
We appreciate that.
Yeah, all you got to do, thank you as well, right? I think the shout out for the shout out. Thank you so much for sharing our content. All you got to do is, if you got a Cash App, you show up to one of these live sessions and you put bot in the chat, and we got a $30 gifts, $30 cash coming your way just for supporting the cause. Thank you so much. And with that, happy Thanksgiving too, right? This is the Thanksgiving episode.
Exactly.
Last minute Thanksgiving episode.
You are skipping your Thanksgiving to be here, so appreciate that too.
Oh, dude, I love it. We're chilling this year. I wouldn't have done it any other way, Joe. Thank you so much for being here too. Thank you for showing up.
Okay, so it's the thank you time. So thank you too.
Well, thank you. And thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, we are out on that one. Oh, Joe, man, it's been a blast.
That was funny, bro.